Welcome to IdiotBox Podcast, where a couple of idiots overanalyze the actions of other idiots on TV. My name is Ray, and these are my co-hosts, Hannah
Hi.
and Adam.
Hello.
We're here to break down the latest season of ABC's The Bachelorettes. That's right, I said Bachelorette with an S because they put two women as the leads this season, and it is already a mess. I know you guys probably are thinking you don't need another Bachelor Nation podcast, but trust me, we are so much more. We're going to be talking about all your favorites, from Survivor to maybe Below Deck. We love reality TV, and we are here to talk about it. All right, so let's start off by giving our first impressions of the show in 3 words. Go ahead, Adam.
All right. So 3 words. It's very easy for me this week. Nate is bae.
That's just correct.
Okay. That's
That's just the
that.
correct statement.
That's just, yeah. No complaints. No rebuttal.
What about you, Hannah?
So mine's going to be stepping on toes. It's going to be my 3 words because things are getting spicy this week.
It's so spicy.
It was a spicy little episode. Raymond, what'd you put?
I have planes aren't cars, and I don't want to fully go into why that is my 3 words until later in the podcast.
Right,
but
we'll talk about that.
Right.
Cars, and I need everyone to remember that because
They're not.
there's people who are on this show who keep comparing planes and cars as if they're the same thing.
So
and they're
true.
not.
Right.
They're not.
They're simply
take note
not.
of that.
That is so funny.
For the future.
You know what? It's a hard thing to learn, but once you get it, it makes sense.
One flies, one doesn't. But we'll go with it. So our most dramatic moment ever this week is Gabby and Rachel sending Chris home, who I didn't know who he was before this episode, if I'm being completely honest.
None of us did.
No.
None of us did.
I had to go look him up online, to be honest. I was like, okay, I've never seen that face before. And I searched through the bios to figure out who he was. But they sent him home just before the rose ceremony because he started talking about the fantasy suites. And it is literally week 2. And by their time, in reality, it's been 4 days. Maybe 4 days. It might be 3 days. And this mofo is talking about fantasy suites. Hannah,
suites.
What did you think about the situation? And give me a little rundown.
Oh my God. I think I watched the show today at 8 a.m. And I think I just was repeatedly chanting, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Because I just couldn't fathom what he was saying. But I feel like the girls handled it so well. My favorite reaction about it was, I can't remember if it was Gabby or Rachel. And they were like, I haven't even talked to Chris, and he's talking about fantasy suites. That is
they don't even know who he is.
They don't even know who he is. Then I think one of them goes up to him when they're ready to pull him, and they say, "Nice to finally meet you."
I think Chris said that.
No, you're right.
That to
he
them.
did. He did.
You're right. I had it written down.
Chris
so
said that
they
to
come
them.
up to them. He goes, "Nice to finally meet you." Iconic. I do have, so I didn't know who Chris was either before this episode, but he gave me a very strong vibe. Would either of you like to guess? Would either of you like to guess the word that he reminds me of?
Ooh.
3, 2, 1. JROTC. JROTC. Think about high school. The ROTC boys. And how they take everything so seriously.
There's a couple guys this season that are like that.
Things are just a little too intense. Just a little too intense.
Like when you would piss off one of the boys in JROTC in high school, they'd come up to you and you'd be like, I am a soon-to-be U.S. Marine. You cannot make fun of me like that. And you'd be like, you're in my AP Calc class. It's fine. I can make fun of you.
We're on the same level.
Literally we're the same. You are not. I don't care that you're a future Army veteran. It hasn't happened yet, buddy. There's so many bad pieces of it, but what did you guys get from it?
I think the man is delusional. I think he seems a little socially unaware because he tries to control every situation like he did that one. He was even trying to explain away what he was doing while they were telling him, you cannot be talking about these things. You're getting ahead of yourself. And I think it was Rachel that said, you're literally sitting here trying to explain yourself when you could just be apologizing. So
Yes.
I think
Yes.
he's delusional, and
Yeah.
I'm glad they sent him home.
Oh,
I actually have, so I'm glad they sent him home too. This is not a Chris Stan account by any means, but I do have a hot take.
it better fucking not be, Raven. Better not be.
We need a button where a noise comes up for a hot take. It's like a sizzle
Oh,
or
that's a
something.
good idea.
Like on Twitter, there's like the racist
sizzle.
dog. There's a racist dog account on Twitter. And so anytime a tweet reads as like racist dog account will just retweet it and go bark bark. Something like that.
That's really funny.
All right, hot take, go.
So I don't think that his thoughts on not wanting his future potential fiance to have sex with someone who may end up just being his homie right before they get engaged is a bad take. I don't think that that is wrong. I don't think that that is unfair. I think that that is a rational way to feel. And I'm not saying everyone should feel this way, but I think it's a rational way to feel if the person that you're supposedly, which this is The Bachelor, so none of these people are going to be together forever, most likely. But supposedly, you're supposed to be with this person for the rest of your life, and you know that less than a week before you got engaged, they were literally having sex with your homie. And this goes for the guys, this goes for the girls, this goes either way. Because I used to be of the field that like, well, you signed up for this, you should know this, blah, blah, blah. But then I kind of like watched Susie and the whole Clayton thing last season. And like Susie was very earnest in the fact that like it really made her uncomfortable knowing that he had sex with Gabby and Rachel before he supposedly wanted to choose her. And I never really saw it from that perspective. The last time something similar happened was like Maddie and Pete on Peter's season, but she was like a virgin. So I was annoyed that she didn't tell him that she was a virgin because that's completely different. But I see his perspective, but I do think they were right in sending him home. Because he was talking about it literally after not even communicating with them once. He's literally talking about having sex with them before he's even had a full-blown conversation with them.
It gives creepy vibes.
But absolutely. I think we're missing a really vital piece of why he's fucked. The number one reason why he's fucked is that when the men asked him, "Oh, are you going to share that with them if you get there?"
You're right. That was fucked up.
Undecided.
That was fucked up.
He's like, it's based on the situation.
You are playing mind games. Like, that is evil. If that is a value, and it was Susie pull the same shit? She didn't tell Clayton that she would. Did she? I can't recall. I feel like she didn't.
Behind the scenes, I think she definitely didn't tell him before, obviously, but I think they made her last because like the producers made her go last because they knew she had an issue with it.
Which is so fucked up.
It's so fucked up.
So fucked up.
The producers of The Bachelor are criminal. They deserve jail. They're actually prison.
I said this last episode, but I want to be one of them.
Oh, me too. I could get in there and just mix that little pot up.
You guys are like shitting on these people, and then you're like, I want to be them.
No, I want to be them.
I'm a bad person.
Let's calm down here. So. Absolutely, I'm a bad person.
Like, I'm a bad person. I know it.
Will never shit on the Bachelor producers. I'm not shitting on them. I will say that some decisions they make are fucked up, but I will never, ever shit on them because they work harder than anybody who has ever existed ever.
Harder than the devil?
Can you say that for a fact?
I can say that with a full fact. Okay. I can say that for certain. Everything that they do is so calculated and evil, but also the things that they allow to happen are just... Chef's kiss.
So good.
I love it.
So but can we? So we talked about how he's like you know, he was talking about nice to finally meet you. Like, do you think this is appropriate? And then when they finally kick him out, even before he comes back, we'll get to that. He goes. How does this work? I just walk in this direction.
Where do I go?
I literally want to take a pair of children's scissors and cut his dick off when he said that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that is such a fucking manipulative, like, condescending mind game type shit. Like, just like, how does this work? Like, fuck you. That's how
exactly
it works.
What you're supposed to be doing.
Fucking move your little stupid fucking JROTC legs and get the fuck closer to the cars.
You fucking leave.
That triggered something inside of me.
As
and that's the only way I can explain it. Anyway, sorry.
We've all been angry today. Damn.
So Hannah,
What a
Hannah brought up
day.
a really good point that I almost forgot completely, and that's that after the girls sent him home, and like I said, it was right before the rose ceremony. They sent him home. He then turns around and walks directly back into to the house through the front door. So I'm just like,
Oh my
how did no one see
Thank
gosh.
you,
this?
producers. Thank you,
Thank you,
producers.
producers. They were because he
Yeah,
was probably like,
no, they literally
you know what
sent him
happened
back in.
They were
behind the scenes? He was probably like, "Can I go back in? I have a couple things to say." And the producers were like,
fuck yeah, you
"Absolutely,
can.
walk right
Fuck
back
yeah.
in.
Fuck
You
yes,
can.
you can do that.
Right
Don't
this
even
way.
ask, just do.
Do you want
Don't
some
even ask."
conversation pointers of things you could say?
Do you need some water? Can we pay you more to stay?
Oh, does anyone
And then he
recall
walked-
what does he say when he walks in, Adam? Do you remember?
I don't. He goes and he says, "I need to talk to everyone."
He says,
He's like
And he talks
friends,
to people.
friends, can I talk
Friends,
to you?
friends.
Friends?
This is important. Where's Hayden? I need to
one
find
thing
Hayden.
this is another hot take. Am I team Chris Loki? I don't know. I just think he's a great villain, and I want him to stay.
No
Loki,
one knows
he's
why.
such a good
Yeah,
villain.
apparently.
I said he's an alpha. He said that. Oh, I'm so sorry. When he came back in, he literally grabbed all the guys he thought could have potentially been talking shit about him to the girls. And I literally said, that is alpha shit. Like, that is alpha behavior. Like, I really respect it. You walk in and you literally are like, hey, you, come sit down with me and have a conversation. I was like, you know what? Respect. No respect.
Are you
but
going to start a
hated
Chris
it.
fan account? Are you going to start a I love Chris Twitter?
Hated it. He was like standing over them, like he was like their professor, and he was like teaching them something.
Oh,
like,
he's
who did
so
that? Raise your
condescending.
hand.
I would
Like,
hate Chris. In
oh
person, I
my
would want to punch Chris in the face.
I
would
wanted
just
to punch him.
choke
wanted to
him.
punch him, which is why
Yeah.
he's not on today's Fuck, Marry, Punch, because it's too obvious.
Thank fucking God. Jesus
Or is he?
Christ.
I don't remember.
So
We're gonna find
he
out
comes
later.
back in, pulls like the 6 guys he thinks could potentially be talking shit about him, and we'll go into detail about the people who did tattle on him later. But
Yeah.
he comes back in and he's like talking to them, being like, "So who exactly said this? What happened?" Da, 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 da. And the guys are like telling them what happened, what they said. They were very honest about it.
It was
and then
me.
the girls
Thank
come
you.
back and they're like, "We literally told you to leave. What are you doing here? Get out."
You saw
And he
like
gets
the
kicked
whole
out
like
again.
crowd. There was like a crowd of the Bachelor guys, like all just like standing behind Gabby and Rachel, like, yeah, get the fuck out. Like,
But who was the ringleader of it? It
saw,
was
like-
Nate. Nate immediately jumps up.
yeah.
He goes.
he said, "Be a gentleman."
No, first he was like, "Oh, you want him to leave?" Or like, "Oh, they asked you to leave," and then he.
Nate is
like,
bae. May I remind you, Nate is
Nate
bae.
is bae.
Nate, have my babies. Thank you.
Okay. Enough about Chris for now. We'll have more to talk about Chris
We're gonna come back
later
to
for
him.
sure.
I have a lot more to
Don't you
say.
guys worry. Let's move on to literally my favorite segment that has ever existed ever, and it is called Gabby's Gabs, where we
Gabby's
talk
Gabs.
about the wonderful quotes that Gabby Wendy, is that how you say her name? Gabby Wendy says every single week. She's the funniest person that's ever been on reality TV, and I fully believe it because she's not being fake. A lot of people who are funny on reality TV are going overboard to try to be funny. And Gabby just is. And it's the way she says things and the things that she says. It's the combination of the two. It's great.
Is it
Adam,
bad
you wanna
that I
start us off?
want? Is it bad that I want Gabby to not find love so that she ends up on Paradise? Like,
Correct.
Is that bad? Okay.
That's best
I
case
just want
scenario for
Gabby
us.
to end up with me.
I mean,
me too.
You're get in line. All right. So my favorite quote from this week from Gabby is when they were in the helicopter, and she goes, "I do roller coasters just fine, except for being afraid."
I think I
so
missed
dumb.
that.
She's so dumb.
That is so fucking funny. Oh
I
my
love her
gosh.
so much.
Oh god.
All right. Who's next, Hannah?
I'll go next. So mine, it's short, it's sweet. It's about our favorite king of the episode, Ray's new boyfriend. Gabby says to Chris, after he's done doing his little pageant segment, she goes, "Honestly, no questions." Honestly, no questions.
After
When she asked
he was
everyone
like,
else, they've asked everyone else questions.
he
can't wait to talk
specifically
about
was
it.
like, "Well, do you guys
Iconic.
have any questions?" And she was like, "Honestly,
Honest.
no questions."
No
We're
motherfucking
good.
questions.
You've answered everything. You've answered everything.
I paused the show and went back and rewatched it because it was so good. It was the highlight of my
Um,
morning.
as it should have been. So mine is also from her date with Nate. Nate, aka Bay, as Adam likes to call him. Mine is, and it was, I've never met a mature man. And it was like when they were kind of going back and forth bantering. And he was like, I've never met a mature woman. And like they were like kind of like had little cute voices while they were saying it. And it was, she's so good at just like throwing little jabs that are so true, because have you ever
So
met a mature
good.
man before ever? Ever? Probably not.
No.
No.
For sure not motherfucking Clayton.
Mhm.
Speaking
And
of jabs, I did. Oh, did you have more to say on that?
no, go ahead.
I speaking of jabs, I wanted to also one more quote, a bonus quote
Oh,
this week,
yes.
because what Gabby said to Chris at the end was fucking beautiful, and we all need to fucking praise this queen. You ready? She said, "We can help make this decision at this point. I don't want anyone to be thinking about fantasy suites. It's so early. We don't even know if we have a connection, and it sounds like you have pretty sure thoughts on it. So to not even put you in that place, I do think it would be time for you to go." And Rachel just goes, "I'm gonna agree with her."
Iconic.
Fuck
I
yeah.
loved it. I
Iconic.
loved it. She
Fuck
is.
yeah.
She's
Iconic
perfect.
behavior.
Like,
Wonderful.
I can only imagine how powerful she felt in that moment. Like, that wasn't a script. That came from her brain.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
thought the words and she said the words. I could never.
She's a
No,
Capricorn
that was
queen. She
word
knows
for
what the
word.
fuck she's saying. I love it.
Absolutely.
Before
I
we get
just
into
want I
uncomfy
want a
moments,
Be
reality
gold.
show.
before uncomfy moments, yes, actually, can we get a Gabby Wendy reality TV show? If she doesn't get a reality TV show after this season, I swear, like
She
every
deserves
single
it.
network is dropping the ball. Bravo better pick her ass up right the fuck now.
If one of the channels gave Nick Jonas and his wife a reality show for a few years that literally nobody watched, no offense, Nick or Kevin.
You mean Kevin? It was
Kevin.
I didn't
Kevin.
know that
People would
I
existed.
meant
watch a
Kevin. I
Nick.
meant Kevin. I meant
People would
Kevin.
watch a Nick one.
People would. No, it was Kevin and Danielle and their little children, and no one watched it. They need to put their resources toward Gabby.
Why Kevin? Sorry, Kevin, but why
Because
Kevin?
he was the only married one at the time, and they wanted to do like a married Jonas TV show. It was.
He
I
was
never
probably
watched a
home
single
the
episode.
most.
Yeah. All right.
Facts.
Moving on.
Before our uncomfy moment segment, I want to do a little update on how we feel about the dynamic between Rachel and Gabby, because girls, I have thoughts.
Ooh,
I have a lot of
start us
thoughts.
off, Raymond.
Absolutely.
Start us off.
So, let me scroll to my notes. I do not think that Rachel is enjoying this. And
No.
look, this is not supposed to be a Rachel hatred podcast, because I don't hate Rachel. I really don't hate her.
Becoming one.
But she gives Insecure in like the most like highest level, the highest level. And I think Gabby can see it, because to reference your 3 words from earlier, the stepping on toes, stepping on toes. Gabby didn't want to step on Rachel's toes, because Rachel had been getting, like rejected. And finally, the guy that Gabby also liked, Logan, kisses her and shows her validation. But Logan also kissed Gabby during that same date. And because Rachel seemed so gung-ho about it, Gabby kind of was just like, all right, yeah, no, like, I'm gonna let you kind of do your thing, and like, ooh, and like, I just don't see this, and like maybe they are still close, because they're posting and like doing interviews together now post show, and they seem fine.
Do you think they have a choice?
No, I don't think they have a choice at all. But I really feel like it's not all like paradise with them. It's not all like
there
beautiful.
Can be resentment underneath, and they can just be like holding that in while they're just putting up a happy face. So
yes,
they might not be getting along, but on the surface they pretend they are.
I think they're getting along. I think it's more like under the surface, like tension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I really don't think that like Rachel sits. Because I imagine in such a high stress situation. I try to picture myself in it, and I would never allow myself to be put in that situation, because I know I couldn't handle it. I'm already fucking unwell enough. I don't need to add that to the mix.
Anyone handles it.
But I don't think Rachel's sitting there in her brain thinking like, fuck Gabby, I fucking hate her. She's a devil demon. I don't think she's sitting there thinking those thoughts like, I wish she was dead so I could be here by myself. But I think that it's like this like level of just like jealousy is probably my guess is what
Yeah,
Rachel's feeling.
yeah.
It's pure
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, but that's gonna boil and it's gonna get hotter and hotter until it's taking over her whole dang body, and then it's going to be like
Mm-hmm.
fuck you, Gabby. But I think both of the girls, they're too nice of girls. Neither of them were the mean girls. They're
No.
never going to say that to each other's faces if
If
there's
Rachel
any
was a
form
No.
of
mean
resentment.
girl, it would be so different, but she's really not. She seems
So
very
different, but
nice.
she's not. And so I think that like even now, I bet they are friends. I bet they do go to like eat dinner together after an interview. I bet they do text sometimes. But it's kind of just like, those friends that like you always kind of a little bit fucking hate, but like
Yeah.
you still, they're still in your life. You still love them, but then there's a little part of you that just kind of wants to like stab them a little. I think that's it.
I think there
But they're
there are
not
people that
besties.
aren't. There are people that are not meant to be besties, and you're kind of
Mm-hmm.
always in competition. I've had friends like that where you think you're like absolute best friends, but you're constantly in competition with each other. That's probably how Rachel feels. I don't think Gabby feels that way though.
I don't think Abby
I
feels that at
think
all.
No,
I
Gabby's just
think
chilling.
when Rachel walked down the stairs and saw Gabby kissing Johnny, and she was like,
Oof.
"Oh, I'm not having a connection with already two of the six guys here tonight, and this is not going well." Like she was
Mm-hmm.
probably
Mm-hmm.
panicking. So I
Absolutely.
I think Rachel is feeling the pressure. Rachel is feeling the heat, and
Mm-hmm.
Gabby sees it. And Gabby is trying to help, and that's why she didn't
Being really
tell
nice.
Rachel that Logan and her kiss as well. So
Oh yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
really, really nice of Gabby to do that because she saw that Rachel was insecure. She saw that Rachel needed that at that moment. So yeah, it's just not going good for Rachel right now.
I
Um,
uh I
yeah,
agree. I think my biggest thing with between like Gabby and Rachel, and like I don't like comparing them, but they're literally both the Bachelorette. Like it's difficult
Mm-hmm.
to not
yeah,
compare them
it's
because they are
impossible to not.
such complete opposites. Which again, side
Yeah.
note, and I think we may have said this last week, but the fact that any of these guys are having trouble figuring out which one they like is insane to me because they're so fucking different. They're literally
They're
two
Yeah.
actual
completely different individuals,
opposites.
actual
Mm-hmm.
Opposites.
opposites, and like
Literally.
not in a bad way for either one of them, but they like
No.
just opposite individuals. My biggest gripe with Rachel, and it's probably not actually something she's actively doing, it's probably more like a defense mechanism, is that she tries to come off perfect too much when she's talking
Mm.
to the guys in big groups, when she's even on one-on-one moments. I don't feel like in those moments she's like really letting down her walls and being herself, and I think it comes through very strongly, at least watching it. I imagine maybe in person it really feels that way, which is probably why some of the guys aren't like gravitating
Vibing.
towards her.
Mm-hmm.
Gabby, the reason
She's
a lot of
kind of
guys are
like
starting to like her,
embellishing her own personality. Like
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, Gabby is being herself authentically 100%, whether that's goofy and stupid
Mm-hmm.
or serious and authentic. Like she's just being herself, and so it's easier to like gravitate towards a person who you can tell is being who they truly are. Whereas I don't think we've seen like authentic Rachel. I think in the interviews it is like the only time we really see Rachel, because that's when she's on. She says
Mm-hmm.
one thing when she's in front of Jesse and Gabby about how happy she is, and like she's like, I'm so glad I have her with me. But then in the interviews you can see her insecurities where she's like, I don't know, this is like, do these guys even like me? Like, what am I doing
Yeah.
here? Like, it's a
I don't think
completely
she
different person.
knows. She doesn't know how to break down her walls. She
No.
doesn't actually know how to open up and be honest with people.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I can't judge her. She's on TV, so maybe this is
Yeah.
hard for her. This is like a lot of pressure. And for Gabby, she's a little bit more confident, and so like she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't worry as much about the cameras. Like we don't know Rachel outside
Yeah.
of this world. So to be fair, we really don't know Rachel at all. So I
No.
mean, I know I've been shitting on Rachel a lot, but to be fair, I can't judge her. She's on TV. This is hard. So
Yeah. And I was thinking about this earlier. I was like just kind of thinking of the same thing. Like, why is it like so easy for Gabby, so hard for Rachel? Rachel doesn't seem like she's like the most shy person. But then I was like, again, kind of putting myself in her shoes. And I'm just like, I can't even fathom. I'm sitting at a table with a guy that I don't know. There's who knows how, like 30 people at least watching them. There's big lights, cameras, you have a microphone, the guy next to you is profusely sweating, you have food in front of you, you're not allowed to eat, you're trying to remember, like, does my hair look okay, am I sucking in, because their boobies are about to always pop out, so it's like, is my boobie in, like, what's the angle, where's my arm at, okay, pay attention to him, what's he saying, what's he thinking, how do I respond, oh my god, the producer is giving me a signal, like, I too, me opening up and having a personality, that would be the last thing on my mind.
Facts.
I would just
so
be like,
fair.
I'd be like, okay, yeah. Because like I am just not somebody who's just like my whole life has just never fucking cared what people think. Gabby, I'm sure obviously everyone deals with insecurities. Everyone's like, you know, self-conscious. But like I just feel like has an easier time just turning off that part of her brain. So always she's going to come off as more chill. So as much as I am a Rachel complainer, I am not a Rachel hater, and I
explain it.
I do feel bad for her.
I get it. So actually, I just realized that was one of our uncomfy moments. My thing was literally pitting the women against each other, and that's kind of what that was. It's definitely, we're getting the narrative where they're definitely kind of showing that some guys like Rachel more, some guys like Gabby more, a lot more. We're seeing a lot more guys liking Gabby currently. But it's definitely like they're painting, they're like teeing it up that this is going to be. There's going to be moments where there are going to be specific guys who really kind of throw wrenches in their situation. And I think Logan is one of the main ones, if I'm being honest. Enough about that for now. Let's go back to our good friend, my bestie, Chris. And let's just let's start off with his pageant moment. Let's do it. Because, girl.
Oh my God.
What the fuck was that?
So
that
first we have
weird.
It's a High School Musical. Troy Bolton, get your head in the game moment. Get your head in the game. Where he's sitting there with the basketball and it's like in rhythm.
I've never hated anything more.
So then he asked this room of predominantly white people who are known to have no beat to clap and stamp on cue. That is difficult enough. And then he has the audacity in his little JROTC little personality to come off screen and goes, that went well because it showed off my 3 characteristics. I'm an alpha.
I'm gonna be in the top 4.
I'm an alpha that has leadership skills. I like music. I like sports. That's not music. That is. Please, someone else. Tell me what you think.
My God. I want to read exactly what I put down for my notes for Chris, and it's a lot, so just bear with me, and I might fuck it up, but we'll see.
I'm ready.
It says Chris wants them to do a beat as he dribbles ? And it's not good, but he thinks it is. He thinks it showcases his leadership skills, love of music and sports ? Says he's the #1 alpha leader ? Who is this man and why is he working overtime for me to hate him? OMG, he's singing. I hate this so much. Rachel to my east, Gabriella to my west. I'm here to prove my fits the best. That's what he's saying, y'all.
Isn't that a Justin Timberlake and T.I. song from middle school? It's like, I turn my head to the east, I don't see nobody.
I turn my head to the west.
To the west, there's nobody. And that's what I thought of, personally. I said, is this plagiarizing?
Not him plagiarizing. And then I said,
I missed that song.
It's always
and then I said, what am I watching? I don't know what that was. And he kept singing. Like, oh my God, later on, he was like, I'm gonna go to that party by invitation though, but it was like he said it with like in a singing way.
Yeah,
and I wanted to literally jump off of a cliff.
I wonder how it felt when he was sitting in a room of his family as the show aired. You know, all of his loved ones around him, and then having to watch your loved ones watch you do that on television.
No, literally,
you can't bounce back.
I would not watch this episode if I was Chris with my family. Like, that doesn't. No. Why would I do that? You know, you're leaving. Like,
but he's a narcissist. He has no idea that he looked bad.
Before we get off Chris, I did want to also read the quote that he said, which was one of my favorites of the episode. We should have a Chris's Gabs if Chris didn't kick up for the show this episode. This man. And word for word, because I had subtitles on and I was pausing frequently to write this all down.
Right on.
This was after the date card was issued. Chris, honestly, like for you guys who are going, the 6 of you, there's some people, including myself, who they don't need a test with right now, who they already know how they feel. But for those of you who are going, it's awesome for you guys. Hope you have a good time.
I was like,
There's a lot
no,
to
he
unpack
didn't.
here.
No, he
There's a lot to
didn't.
unpack. First of all, we already talked about how this man had not had a conversation
Zero
with Gabby
conversation.
or Rachel.
Zero
Nope.
So
conversation.
how does he think they know how they feel about him? That makes zero sense.
They can smell his alpha
Zero.
pheromones.
You can tell it was the Troy Bolton basketball
Oh my
song that did it for
god.
them. I mean, her name is Gabriella. It fits. I'm sorry.
You are the music in me.
Good point. Good point. Before we get off our
my favorite song. Sorry.
before we get off, okay,
Don't
should we
get us
rewatch High
started.
School Musical though? Like, because I'm
You are
all
the
about it.
music
I will watch
in
all
me.
4. Is there 4?
I don't know, 100. Okay,
Sure.
what were we talking about?
There are only 3 high school musical movies that matter. Let's be honest.
Facts. You're right. Okay. Before we get off of Chris, I want to talk about all the boys that tattle on him, and
Ooh.
so this one threw me for a loop because basically all the guys called him out. Nate called him out. Quincy called him out. Jordan called him out. A couple of other guys, Logan called him out when he talked about the fantasy suites and stuff. There were several guys that called him out on his shit, but there were specific guys who ended up tattling on him to Gabby, well, to Rachel, who then tattled to Gabby, and then that is how Chris got sent home. So Hayden was one of them, which is a surprise because he seems like more of a front runner, and usually front runners stay out of the tattling game because they are so secure in the fact that they are a front runner, so they don't need to like go bitch about the other people in the house. And then
Didn't get anything from Hayden in this episode though.
Nothing this episode, but they showed him a lot last episode, so I know he's going far.
Yeah. Okay.
Jordan H, which is not surprising. Jordan H gives me Tattletale vibes. Like he, out of everyone, seems like he'd be a Tattletale.
He's from Tampa. We suck, so it makes sense.
And then Quincy. That one surprised me because I thought Quincy himself was going to be a villain. And turns out he's the Tattletale, which means he's not going to be a villain, most likely. Because usually the tattletale of the season is not the villain of the season. So Quincy will be around tattling on boys the rest of this season as long as he's there. And I'm kind of excited for it because Quincy's definitely annoying and I wouldn't want to be friends with him. But he seems fun. And he wore that banana hammock so damn well during the pageant, which segue, we should just go into the pageant.
Yes, agreed. So
give me your thoughts, Hannah.
There's a second best Gabby quote for me that happened during this segment of the show, unfortunately. They're talking, something happened. Someone does a good job with their little, skill. And Gabby goes, "Ooh, stiff competition."
Ugh.
Iconic.
She's so iconic.
So good. Just so timely with her delivery. She just says it so well. I just want to bottle it up and give it to people. But other than that, there was one little something I just have to bring up really quick that we have no reason to talk about. It was when the episode first started and they were talking about all the men, there's too many men in the house, and they show the bunk bedroom. Did you guys see that part? Where there was like literally 30 something cotton pads on the ground and just men snoozing. And I was like, that's what they deserve. I loved it. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. The pageant thing. So Quincy was wearing the green suspender thong.
Banana hammock, I think is what those are called.
Banana hammock. Just iconic.
Right? No? Did I make that up?
No, I thought a banana hammock was just a Speedo in general.
Oh, I don't know.
I swam in high school. I don't know. We never called it a banana hammock, so.
I think I learned that on Friends, the TV show. Okay, so some notes I wrote down just real quick. I put Colin, evil hair. I guess I thought his hair looked like a bad person's hair. Logan, shoes and socks. Gross. Quincy with like a Speedo on. Like, don't be weird. And then Quincy, I guess banana hammock. Meatball. I want to burn my retinas off.
That was terrible.
Johnny, he's really hot as a pilot. And that's my wrap up. What did you guys get from it?
I had a couple takeaways. One of my first takeaways is calling out gross, weird Jesse, and I think Jesse again is the villain of the season. I've been saying this from the beginning. I think he's the villain of the season because he made it weird. Like I get like the girls were already like, oh, Jesse, as in like the host,
Jesse Palmer.
Jesse Palmer. I apologize, Jesse Palmer as in the host.
The guys on it, I was like, I do not know who that is.
Jesse Palmer.
Okay, go back to what you were saying in the beginning then. Scroll back.
So I think that Jesse Palmer is the real villain of the season, like I said last week, because he gives gross energy a lot of the times. He says little things that kind of just like rub me the wrong way. And at the beginning of this like little pageant date, so to quickly recap the pageant date, basically the girls were going to do a pool day apparently, but it was raining and they still wanted the guys to take their shirts off so they could see their quote unquote 6-pack abs. And so they decided to have them dress up in Speedos and give a little mini pageant performance where they walk across the stage. This is also happening in the living room of the mansion, so it's not very fancy looking. And then they have them do a talent of some sort, which is how we get back to Chris's weird High School Musical like moment.
Get your head in the game.
Exactly. And so and then they ask them questions essentially. So before it starts, Jesse says that the person who shows the most skin might win. And he's like, I know it's crazy, but it might happen. And I was like, ew, this is gross. And I was like, Jesse, this is implied. You don't have to say it. You saying it makes it weirder. And you specifically saying it makes it weirder.
He says that but then when they're like talking about how Quincy should keep that outfit going forward, Jesse's like, no, please, no. It's giving homophobia. I'm sorry.
It's giving homophobia.
Let's be honest. My favorite.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you're still going?
I was going to say one more thing that was really funny. They
going.
Put black boxes over all of the bulges, but made sure to show Ryan stuffing socks into his Speedo.
It was his final 15 minutes of fame, okay? Like, give it to him.
So fucking mean. I love that.
Rest in peace, Ryan. Rest in peace.
My
favorite takeaway from the whole pageant is how uncomfortable the men got. This is exactly what I wrote. These guys all talk like being in front of other guys in a Speedo is some tall task. Like their lives were drastically affected because some men saw the imprint of their ween. Who hurt you guys? Who hurt you?
Imprint of their ween.
Look. I swam in high school, so like I was constantly in Speedos around everybody and their parents and their mothers and their coaches. Who cares? Like it's not a big deal. So like I think it's just like it's an internalized homophobia thing where these guys are like afraid to like, oh, if somebody sees my penis, it means I am this or that. And it's just like everybody just fucking relax. Like so that's my takeaway from the whole thing is everybody was so uncomfortable and they did not have to be.
So gross. I want to scroll back real quick to the comments on Meatball because we didn't really describe exactly what Meatball did. And I think that people need to understand how fucked up it was and how they need to arrest this man for the behavior. Because it was so this man who again his nickname is Meatball. And the fact that his nickname is Meatball, I don't even know what his real name is, says everything I need to know about him. He lets people call him Meatball.
He is Meatball. Oh, because all of his siblings
called him Meatball. Oh,
the nickname is Sausage. Do you remember?
Oh yes, that was another quote I wrote down.
Yes. Okay, sorry. Continue. Paint me a word picture of what he did.
Basically, this man comes out in his Speedo like everybody else, and then he takes a jar of marinara and just like
with meat,
seductively. It had meat in it too.
It had. I'm pretty sure
it was a bolognese.
It was chunky.
Ew. It's even worse. But basically, he poured this sauce all over himself and then started eating it off of himself seductively while he like stared at Gabby and Rachel. And this is actually a moment where Rachel was funny because she was like in her interview, she was like, look, I'm Italian and I love sauce, but I don't eat canned sauce. She said, I don't do canned sauce. And I was like,
Oh
girl,
my God,
neither do
yes.
I. That shit's nasty. That was nasty.
So fucking weird. Like, he said that was a talent. He said, Chris is out here Troy Bolton it. We got some other people doing other things that I can't remember. And then he pours sauce on his body and then eats it.
It made me
That
really uncomfortable. There's not a lot of
I
things
would
that
have
can
been
make
like,
me uncomfortable.
Meatball, walk to the door. You're out. You're done. You're done.
Wasn't one of the guys like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat spaghetti for a while. Like,
Yes.
it's going to take me a little bit.
Yeah, they like commented on the smell in the room. I was like,
probably that's something I didn't think about. That probably smelled like
I don't want to think about it. I
ass.
want to stop talking about it. It's so gross.
I'm
I hate it.
not
I'm like
gonna-
envisioning it again, and I
Ray,
hated it.
we should get
Stop
pasta
it.
tomorrow for
Stop
dinner.
it. Stop it. Okay, let's go into both of the one-on-one dates because they were both a little uncomfy
Moving
in my
on.
opinion. Let's start with
Moving on.
Gabby's awkward date with hot dad Nate. And the only reason it was awkward and the only reason it's in an uncomfy moment is because they are so weird. Like the two of them are both so awkward and uncomfortable and nervous that
Nate's a dork, and I love it.
Nate is such a dork. He didn't even know what to say sometimes. Like he would like start saying something and then he couldn't remember the full thought, which totally relatable. And then he would just say something weird or awkward, and like I found it so endearing.
I would like to start off this segment by reading the first note that I wrote when Nate came on the screen getting ready for his date. I said, Nate puts on one squirt too many of his cologne. Bad start. He was like, shh, shh.
He was nervous.
Shh, shh.
Is
I was
that
like,
he?
okay,
He
like relax.
two-hand rubbed it in.
He was
Didn't he?
nervous.
I watched. There was so much cologne. No, you don't nervous spray too much cologne on you. You do that all the time.
Okay, the Nate slander is unnecessary, and we don't need that here. We
And
are
then
a
my
Nate
next-
stan
my next
podcast.
quote- My next quote was, "Oh damn, Gabby looks hot with two tits." So,
Amen.
she looked good. She looked good.
I think
Amen.
y'all
Gabby's
can go
amazing
now.
and gorgeous.
I said my piece.
You said your piece. I'm trying to think some of my thoughts. I think you guys kind of hit him on the head. Like, it was uncomfortable at times to watch,
Mm-hmm.
but my heart was happy that it was happening. But
Mm-hmm.
my eyes didn't want to see it. You know? Like, that's kind of where I was at.
I don't know that I-
You don't agree? You don't know what that means?
I loved the whole date.
Maybe I just am uncomfortable with other people being happy, but it was just like they were just sometimes it was like when they were like about to kiss or in the middle of kissing or just like talking, I would just be like, oh, not in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's my main takeaway from the date. Thank you.
I think they were super cute. I think that Nate opened up Gabby in a way that like she wasn't even prepared for herself. He told her that he's a girl dad, and she talked about how she, at least in her interview, she talked about how she was like always nervous or scared to be a mom, and that he kind of gave her the confidence to like one day maybe she might want to decide to do that. And I don't know if that means that she's ready to be a mom right now, which is what being with Nate would mean.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that Nate shot up to like her number one spot, at least for me. And I think that it was beautiful to kind of watch Gabby be so vulnerable. And for Nate to also be so vulnerable and talk about his daughter so sweetly. He said that she reminds him of coffee or the human form of coffee. And I was like, that's so funny and cute and like such a specific way to like talk about your child. But yeah, what did you think, Adam?
When they were like both tearing up together, I was 100% also tearing up with them.
It was so good.
I was there with them on that
He
date.
called me to tell me that he was crying.
Aww.
It was so fucking cute.
It was
like,
so
and,
sweet.
And then when they were like kind of like dancing and then Gabby did the interview about like saying how she has always been scared to be a mother, like that touched me a lot.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was really beautiful. And I think we're seeing Nate bring out like the side of Gabby that I think she wants to be. And I don't know. I think what I'm nervous about, and I talked to Ray about earlier, is that she might not at the end of this want to be a mother, because that's
Yeah.
a whole other decision. And I think Ray said, like, he might bring out the ability for her to one day be a mother. He might help her be more confident in that, but she might not be ready right after this for that. So that's the only tough thing with Nate. But I think genuinely, if Nate didn't have a kid, I think Nate's the guy. Like, it's unfortunate.
I think Nate's
so
her
we'll
perfect
see.
match.
Yeah, it sucks. We'll see if she's ready to be a mother, because I think it's more at this point, or not at this point, but later, it's going to be more about if she's ready to be a mother than if she's ready to be with Nate.
Correct.
Yeah, I think like the fact that he is like pretty goofy, and you know, Gabby's a freak. It's easier to be vulnerable with people you see that are like kind of on your playing field, like emotionally.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you be stupid most of the time, but then have those like moments of like vulnerability. And like I do think that is like a really big like posing question. Like, it's not just Nate that she'd be picking; it's his daughter, and like that's scary.
No
So
different.
like I think that Nate will be good for Gabby to keep around, because I think he's going to be like kind of like her no bullshit person. Which they're not; those aren't always the people that get picked, but like the kind of just the person they can be like leveled with a little bit. Like, I feel like Gabby was that for Clayton in Clayton's season. Like, she was kind of where he could come and just be like, oh, nothing, like it doesn't matter, and like kind of like let loose. So like I'm curious to see how that will play out.
I think it's funny because like we just talked about, or at least I know I just talked so much about how I think that Gabby's being herself and being authentic, but there's a part of her that is putting up a wall and using humor and comedy to kind of like mask feelings, which is like super common and such a, like everyone overcompensates in some way. And so it was nice to watch her kind of like come out of her shell in a way that we kind of saw a little bit during Clayton's season, but like in a very like more fulfilled way, you know, and it felt way more natural this time. Now let's talk about Rachel's one-on-one with good old Jordan V, the drag racer who keeps comparing fucking driving cars to flying planes.
Like, I can drive a car, Jordan. It's not that special. Like, anyone can do it. Just
He's like,
vroom, vroom.
We both sit in like, you know, these little things and then go places. So we just have so much in common. And I think that like if I talk about it again, and then it'll make us have even more in common. And I love drag racing. You love flying planes.
What's funny is Rachel definitely like fed into that whole thing. And then at the end of the night, she was like, oh, I feel nothing.
She's like, I have nothing in common with this person. Maybe because the only thing you had in common was the drag race comparison to the plane that you both sit in cockpits.
Rachel started the date by saying, this isn't an exact quote. She said something like, it was something like, no one is here for me. And then it was like a couple sentences later, and then it was like, Jordan is interested in me.
Yep.
Like,
she basically said, I like Jordan.
It was because Jordan
likes me.
Amen. And I was like,
sweetie.
Sweetie. Rachel, no. But
sweetie,
yeah,
boo-boo.
I'm just like,
what's funny,
Jordan, yeah.
The man who loved Rachel the most was Ryan and I found that out the end of the episode. Like, and then he went home.
Right?
We can talk about that later. Let's talk about that later, bro.
We gotta circle back to that. We gotta circle back.
Where did it come from? All right, you go. Jordan.
No,
and now I can't even.
No,
we can move to Ryan. Let's talk about Ryan.
Talk about Ryan for a second. We'll circle back.
Okay.
Where did that come from?
Let's rewind to the first episode where Ryan is sitting there triggering me because he's like, shh.
Yep, shushing Gabby.
Calling Gabby little cutesy names, little Gabby, little giggling left and right, having the time of their life. He wants to propose right there on the spot. Gabby is ready to mount him. Skirt to the first few seconds of this fucking episode, and he's like, Ryan's like, oh, I'm here for Rachel. Rachel's the love of my life. I paused it, I rewound it, because I said, I must have heard that wrong. I'm watching with my sister. She goes, maybe he meant to say Gabby and he got their names confused. No. I
did the same thing. I rewound it twice.
You want to hear what I wrote on my notes?
Please.
You got to hear what I wrote on my notes. I wrote, the shushing was the reason that Ryan got sent home. Hannah was right.
You're right. Yep.
Literally so offensive. He
Hannah
deserves.
was right.
Thank you.
Underlined, italics, bold.
Learn
exclamation.
right now. Learn right now. This is a lesson for everybody. I am always right.
That's fair.
Writing it,
She,
I'm writing it
just
down.
she usually
Writing it
is.
down.
She really
Tattoo
usually
it on
is.
your forehead. Don't forget. That was
All right,
just
we can
so.
go back. We can go back to Jordan.
Oh yeah. So
I think I think the date genuinely it felt like it went well. Like it felt like it was like fun. They were enjoying themselves. I didn't read anything into it while it was going on. I thought it was fine. I thought like this is cookie cutter. This is basic. Like oh Rachel's into him. He's into her. They kiss. Cute moment where they're floating around. And I literally wrote Rachel is horny as fuck because they like bumped into the wall and like Rachel just like grabbed his face and wouldn't stop kissing him. So I was like, okay, like this is going well, great. Then we get to the dinner and all of a sudden she's just like, what am I doing?
she's so
Like,
bored.
I
Bored.
don't like this man at
She's
all,
so
and I'm
bored.
pretending to. I think she was
He's
definitely
trauma
convincing
dumping
herself.
on her.
Yeah.
He's dumping his life trauma, and she's just like boring.
Because I think it was because
Your trauma's
his
not
life
good
trauma. His life trauma was him just talking about his family's divorce, and I honestly think that made her be like, "This is what you have to say to me about your trauma. This is a compare."
Okay,
like,
hold on. Don't downplay
I'm not-
divorce.
okay,
It
look,
is definitely
I'm not.
like
I am not downplaying divorce. I know it destroys families and children and leaves scars forever. But I genuinely saw in her face as he's telling his divorce trauma story, she got bored and disinterested, and
That's so shitty.
that's like shitty of her.
It's shitty of her.
That's what happened.
I
She's
just
like,
think it
"Real
was really
thing."
bad timing. She should have come to this conclusion that she wasn't interested like 5 seconds before he started talking about his parents' divorce. As a child of divorce of the age of 22,
Mhm.
it can be triggering. And
It's
so like good
triggering.
for him for sharing. But like Rachel could not have picked a worse time to cut to but I'm not interested. Something's just not there.
He literally told her about the divorce,
Sorry.
and then she got up from the table, was like, "I need a minute," and then came back and
She
sent
doesn't
him.
have divorced parents. Maybe she thinks that he's like prone. Now he's gonna get divorced since he comes from divorce, and she doesn't come from
Maybe.
divorce.
My parents
Maybe.
used to try to teach me that you shouldn't date someone that was from divorced parents. It's a
Oh
real
my
thing. My parents
God.
tried to teach me. Yeah. Let's just move on past that. We'll go.
Healthy.
We'll circle back to your family
It's
issues
a
later.
real thing. Yeah, family issues come later. It's a real
but basically, after having a normal bachelor date, Rachel sends home Jordan V, who we all thought was going to make it really far because she liked how much he liked her. But
Because of the
goodbye, Jordan V.
comparison.
You may now drive off in your drag racing machine that does not fly, that you keep comparing it to. Have a nice life.
Hey, you don't know.
We'll see you in
Maybe
paradise,
he
probably.
You're like in a different type of drag racing where they
You're
got
right.
wings on the
No,
cars.
you're right. You're completely
Don't
right.
judge a book by its car.
It's time for Adam's favorite segment, Fuck, Marry, Punch. Who do you got for us this week?
All right. Welcome to Fuck, Marry, Punch, where we talk about who you want to fuck, who you want to marry, who you want to punch.
This week, I actually lied earlier because we have Chris on the
Liar.
ballot.
Fucking liar.
You know what? He's gone, and I like to include people that are not going to be included anymore in the show because we'd never be able to talk about them again. So this week, Fuck, Marry, Punch. Your
This is a
options.
really hard option.
Your options, Hannah and Ray, are
Okay.
Jordan H,
Okay.
Logan,
Ugh.
Logan, the double kisser, and Chris, the basketball
I
Troy
have my
Logan
answer.
lookalike.
I have
I
my
hate all of
answer.
it.
Oh, Hannah, go.
Wow, that was
Hannah.
fast.
Okay. These are my thoughts. I'm going to marry Jordan H because he is the gossip of the group. And so he will always have the tea. He will always have drama. He will always be a part of the narrative. And I want to be associated. I want to come home at the end of a long day and be like, give it to me. And then for 45 minutes, he's just giving me that good gossip. Sold.
I love that, actually.
Marrying him.
Great answer. Great answer.
Thank you. Okay, I was thinking about this part of the segment earlier today, and I didn't know who you were going to pick, and I was hoping you would pick him because I felt that way this morning. Okay, I'm going to obviously fuck Logan. I'm not blind, and then I'm going to punch Chris because he deserves it.
So
That's
this
totally
is going to be
fair.
super fun, but I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going to marry Jordan
Twin
H.
sister.
So my reason for marrying Jordan H will actually come later. I love the sister moment. Thank you for that.
love it every time.
Jordan H. I would marry because he seems the easiest to kind of just be there,
Control.
you know? Like, yeah, low-key
He
control. I
just
don't want
wants
to be
someone
fucking
to just
crazy.
be there.
He'll like
Just
be
sit
there,
there and look
you know.
good.
I don't think he looks good. Like, that's the biggest issue.
Oh, me. He's
I'm
not
saying it. I'm
ugly.
saying it on my chest. I think he's ugly.
Oh.
And that's okay.
You can
Ugly
marry
people
me,
can
Jordan
exist.
H.
Hot take. Hot take.
Bark.
And then I guess I would fuck Logan, even though you said like you have eyes, so you choose Logan. I think that Logan is so unbelievably unattractive. Like unbelievably unattractive.
I have eyes. I think it's
Hot
more of a
take.
baseline. Like it's not like he's no Eric.
Girl,
but,
I still don't see that one either.
It's that mullet. It's the mullet.
But he is not the worst thing to ever see in the world. So if it's either going to be fuck a Logan or fuck a Chris, that's my argument. Okay, keep going. Bye.
I would fuck Logan only because he seems like he'd be experienced because he'd be making out with a lot of girls.
He'd be fun.
And then I would punch Chris because honestly, Chris does need to be punched. Like if he was punched more, like if he was bullied a little bit as a kid, he probably would be real humble right now. Like he probably was never
I literally
bullied.
said earlier in this segment that I wasn't going to put Chris in this because we would all punch him. And then I went and I put Chris in this and we all punched him. So, you know what? I just,
for a split second, I was going to say fuck Chris. Just to like stir the pot here.
Ooh,
but I decided to stick with my guns.
I can't do it.
He deserves a good old punch.
Messy. All right, so who do you think? So we know that Chris is a villain, obviously, but who do you think is a villain going forward? And who do you think is boring as fuck? Go ahead, Adam.
Who's starting?
So I think it's very obvious that Jacob is about to become a villain.
Tarzan?
What did he say in the promo? Guys, help me. Like I didn't write it down. He said something.
He wouldn't continue the journey if it was just Gabby here. Something about that.
Thank you. Yes, that's what it was. He literally looks at Gabby and says, I honestly wouldn't continue if you were the only person here. Like
that's
insane.
And how could you say that to a person? How could you? So he's my villain. My boring is he's gone, unfortunately. But Colin, he was the guy. He was the guy who was
the evil hair.
Yeah, and he was also like during the pageant, he was so freaking skinny. I felt so bad. But that's not why he's boring. He was explaining to Rachel that he loves the Harry Potter books and he listens to them on Audible, and how the narrator is so phenomenal on Audible for the Harry Potter books.
Baby.
And I was just like, sweetie, this is not the hill you want to die on. This is not the hill you want to die on. Like, don't choose this.
Fucking funny.
Like, this is like you don't have a Horcrux that you brought to like
not
show
a
Rachel.
Horcrux. Oh no!
Stop it. J.K. Rowling is not your aunt. It's not a fun fact.
I would love that. Fuck you, Adam. Fuck you.
Look, they're fine.
Bad take.
Ooh,
they're fine.
Okay,
we're gonna revisit this, y'all.
They're fine.
My villain.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah,
my villain is going to be Mario.
I'm the villain.
Yeah, Adam's the villain. Mario is the villain. Is my villain that I foresee happening soon because he is now like going after Rachel, even though he got the first impression rose from Gabby. He gets the last rose at the rose ceremony, so the producers are definitely being like, pay attention to this one. He's playing sus energy. He's giving us sus energy, and so therefore we are showing that to you. And then my boring person is my sweet husband, Jordan H. Because like he is a loser for being like the main tattler. And then what really got me is when he was arguing with Chris about like, you know, the fantasy suite situation. He was like, if you make it to fantasy suites, it means you're in love. And I was just like, you fucking nerd, shut up.
So sweet.
and I loved Chris's response. Chris's response was like, no, it means you made it to top 4.
Psychotic.
I was like,
Psychotic.
honestly,
Really, to
is he
be
wrong?
fair, Chris is kind of right there though.
I
Like,
agree.
but then they were like, "Oh, you're treating it like it's a game." But I think they're putting words in his mouth there.
They
Like,
definitely were.
I think they were putting words in his mouth. But
He definitely
That's
put words
so
in his mouth
fucking
there.
funny.
All right. What are yours,
okay.
Hannah?
Villain, plot twist, sister. I put Jordan H as my villain. My sweet little husband has now gotten a taste of success. He has now tasted that when you snitch, things work in your favor. So now he's going to be power hungry. He's going to want to do it again and again and again. And I think he is going to morph into an unsuspecting villain.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Love that take.
And then for my boring, all of them deeply bore me most of the time. There's like a few of them that are like probably more boring. Like the firefighter, I don't know why, but he looks like one of the people that when there's a firefighter. No, not a firefighter. He's a football coach. The football coach.
Kirk. I hate him.
Kirk. He looks like the kind of guy that like when he's talking to you, your eyes are just gonna like glaze over.
Absolutely.
So he's probably the most boring. And then also I still have it out for Hayden, but all of
Okay, guys, let's give our top four. Give a new top four because honestly, we lost in our last top four. Jordan V's gone. Ryan's gone. Mario's clearly going to be gone soon. Like we fucked up last episode. So, what are our new top fours? Give it to me, Adam.
All right, so Gabby, I got Nate, obviously, Johnny, Logan, and Erich. And then Hannah, who you got for Gabby?
For Gabby, I have Johnny, Nate, Eric, and Logan.
Johnny, Nate, Eric. So we have the same.
Do we? Say your four again.
Nate, Johnny, Logan, Eric.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So mine's almost exactly the same. I have Erich, aka Eric,
Eric,
Nate, Logan, and wildcard Jason, because both girls seemed interested in him during the pageant.
I don't know who that is.
I barely do
Jason.
Who
is Jason?
I just remember when I was watching the episode that the girls were interested in him. All right, who do you got for Rachel, Hannah?
For Rachel, I have two overlapping.
Ooh,
Logan,
messy.
I think Logan's still in the running. Johnny, I think we don't really know Johnny yet, but I think he's going to start playing both fields again.
I can see that.
Or she's going to start playing both fields. Tino and Avon, even though Avon seems pretty freaking boring, but I don't know him yet. Maybe that's a bad take.
That's good enough. But his talent was literally just like fucking having a basketball on his finger, just like spinning a basketball on his finger. That was his.
I mean, I can't do that.
Talent. I know,
it's
but
not
he's
easy
hot.
to do.
And then he was just like spinning
get your head in the game.
Ray hates sports. So
I do hate sports.
It's
my Rachel guys are Tino, hot Avon but boring talent. Mm-hmm. Logan, which is a crossover with Gabby, and then our good boring Southerner Hayden.
I forgot about Hayden. Oh damn.
Rip.
I have three of the same from you, Ray. I have Logan, Tino, and Hayden. And then I have Tyler, who they shared a nice kiss. He's the small business owner. So real quick, at the beginning of the episode, Tyler, we hadn't heard anything from him in the first episode, and he came up randomly, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Tyler!" And I saw a small business owner, and my mind wandered. I said, what kind of small business could he own?" And so I wrote down a couple ideas. So I'm going to share them real quick. A couple.
I'm going to close my eyes.
A couple potential options for small businesses that Tyler could own. An edible shoe company.
Naturally.
A goat rental company.
Sure.
A cuddle party company. Real thing. Looked it up. It's a very complicated thing.
His business, so of course it exists.
Right. Rent a mom.
Okay, that sounds sad.
Professional potty training.
Oh, no.
And then
my God.
The last one, I like this one because it has a little ring to it. Alibi supply. So it's like you supply an alibi to somebody.
That feels
that's
illegal.
a real thing.
Adam.
That is a
Okay,
real thing.
marketer,
That is a real thing.
Mr. Agent.
You just sold us
So,
more than the show did on him.
Wow.
So those are some ideas.
I hope it's the goat rental.
Inevitably, we found out what it was, but
No,
I'm not even going to touch on that.
It
We're
sounds
going to
just as
pretend it didn't
sketchy and
exist.
weird, to be honest. So
oh, is it?
we'll
Is it
just
like
pretend like it.
Is it a laundromat?
He's
a laundromat.
He's literally a carny. He's like he owns like carnival games. He owns carnival games. That
Hayden
he
has killed children.
No, it's Tyler.
Oh, who? Oh wait, yeah, Tyler's a small business owner. I've had a very long day.
Moving on.
That's really funny.
That was amazing.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Let's quickly get into some of the biggest moments from the teaser and give some quick predictions. I'm going to just go do a quick rundown of what we saw. I only saw 3 major things. I saw Rachel being with Zach. I saw her being with Avon, and I saw her being with Hayden. So 2 of those people are probably going to be her one-on-ones. And then we see the whole moment that Adam kind of touched on earlier of Jacob telling Gabby that he wouldn't continue on this journey if she was the only bachelorette. And then we have Alec rejects Rachel's rose because he would rather have one from Gabby. So what do we think is going to happen, guys?
I mean, I think that when Jacob bullies Gabby, Rachel will get rid of they'll get rid of him. I think because like the way he said it was so rude. Because like okay, like Alex thing where he's like, "I'm sorry, I can't accept this rose." Like, yeah, it is hurtful and hateful and disgusting, but like it is in a polite way, I guess. Correct. But like what Colin did was wrong and like was mean, and so I think he's gonna go. One thing you missed was that Eric, my husband, will be meeting Gabby's grandpa, who's my favorite person in the whole world.
Yes,
who has a podcast, by the way.
Competition that I honestly want to listen to.
I don't know. Sign me up, subscribe. And then those are my thoughts. I don't remember.
Eric meets Paw. I was super excited about that. I think Eric is like a top 4 candidate for Gabby
sure.
Easily. I think
He's
it's going to stay that way. Whatever. Evil's good.
It's the mullet.
I mean, but him meeting Papa, if he gets approval from Papa, like it's going to send him. So,
that's true.
And then I said Jacob sucks. Wow. And then Rachel going to quit. So, some things to be excited
for. Don't tempt us, Rachel. No, that's mean. I take it back.
This show, I did say to Ray earlier, I don't think this show ends with 2 bachelorettes.
Skirt.
I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's like Gabby just leaves or Rachel quits or something. I don't know. Maybe Nate and Gabby ride off into the sunset and go pick up his daughter. I don't know. Like, who knows? Like,
they
pull that blonde bitch. What was that her name?
Beautiful.
Women.
Who? What?
Who Tayshia took over for? Who did Tayshia
Claire.
Claire.
Adam made that comparison earlier.
I just said that. Yes,
absolutely. Shall we move on to gossip?
The rumor report? Yes, ma'am.
Bring it.
Okay,
Hannah's hideaway, if you will. I don't know.
Ooh, motherfucker. Okay.
Hannah's hideaway. That's so good.
So, welcome to Hannah's hideaway. Today we're going to talk about 2 main pieces of gossip. The first one is Caitlin Bristow, our queen. She was on a little twatter rampage when the show was airing.
I heard.
Just, like, going off. And so one of her main takeaways that I think was interesting is that she is convinced that Gabby told Rachel that Logan kissed her as well. And that they cut it because they want it to become a very much like Team Edward, Team Jacob. Shall we review Twilight?
Correct,
competition where we pick a side because how Gabby would never do that to Rachel. But then I think it was interesting because I think Ray said earlier that like Gabby would do that to Rachel to kind of like protect her in that way because Gabby knows that she's more confident. So skirt. That's a lot to think about.
I personally think that she kept it from her to
I think she kept it.
Rachel's feelings because she could see how gung-ho Rachel was. I do see where Caitlyn would have gotten that. That is totally something that the editors of the show would do, is cut like that moment out. But I could see Gabby having like the emotional intelligence to like say that, to not say that, I should say.
Yeah. My gut reaction was that if Gabby really did tell Rachel, Rachel is still so sensitive about like having like from Clayton's season, that the fact that like if she's like, oh, you know, he likes her just as much as he likes me, I'm not doing that. She wouldn't give that the energy.
I agree. All right, what's our next little tidbit from Hannah's Hideaway?
This one's a little spicy. So it's
Is it
not
a hot take?
It is. It's a take. It's a take I never saw coming. Are you ready for this? So okay, I did not
saw coming.
So it is very important to know that I do little to no research on backing these claims.
Love that.
The first thing I read, gospel. It is Bible. It is the truth. It
Zero
is the word of
receipts,
God.
baby. Zero receipts.
So I have no receipts, no proof, nothing to prove this theory except my eyeballs saw it a few hours ago.
It's the best kind of truth.
Okay. Apparently, there's been some rumblings of people who know Hayden in real life, grew up around him, grew up near him. Hayden, sweet little Josh Peck / grocery store Joe. He's evil.
Oh,
he's a hidden, evil, nasty man.
Oh, a future villain.
That like Hayden, sweet little baby Hayden that looks like squishy, is going to turn around.
Grocery store Joe, if you will.
A nasty snake. What do you think? Thoughts, feelings,
he's
emotions?
A future villain.
He's the one who went to UCF, correct?
That sounds right.
I think he went to UCF. Yeah. So as a former
UCF student, we're villains.
All of us
we're
are
all
terrible.
villains of our own
stories.
Totally let's be honest.
I could totally see it.
Oh my god!
I could see him being a frat boy who like was kind of like going around being a little bit of a fuck boy to girls and sororities and just kind of, I don't know. I could totally see it. UCF like guys were terrible.
Just like he's sitting at Lake Claire, just like on his letters, and he's just like looking at.
Oh, I love this.
Drinking beers.
Love it.
Chugging beers on a fucking tailgate morning.
Okay, I know we're gonna wrap up soon, but I have something I have to ask. Or think about it because it's been eating me alive. What do you guys think? So, okay, the one-on-one dates this week. So, you know, personally, I believe that Rachel picked Jordan because she knew Gabby wasn't interested, and that's why Gabby picked Nate because she knew Rachel wasn't interested. And so it was like if they decided to give them the rose or not, it's no skin off the other's back. This isn't a Logan, Ryan situation where maybe multiple people are potentially involved. Do you have a theory? Have you thought about like in next coming episodes, like what if Logan gets a one-on-one date? What if like what is going to be their protocol? Do you think they're doing this cognizantly, like deciding, or do you think it was, I don't know, what do you think?
I think they definitely did that on purpose. I think Nate and what's his name? Jordan, right? Jordan V. I think those were very on purpose because they decided like, okay, these are guys we immediately know. Like Rachel's like, I'm not really into Nate, so you go for it. And Gabby's like, I'm not really into Jordan. I don't give a fuck about cars. Go for it. And so like they went on those very purposefully. I think this is about to get really messy because once you start getting involved with the guys that both of them, like I was thinking in my head when Jordan was like being sent home or not giving the rose, like, well, what if Gabby?
So did I. I thought the same thing. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So they clearly already had a predetermined like agreement that if you don't like Jordan, I'm fine if you want to send him home. That's not gonna work going forward.
I have a theory that for the first couple of weeks, so I think maybe even next week, it's going to be similar where they both choose guys that only they are specifically interested in. And or at least they think that, you know what I mean? And then I think going forward, the expectation, or Eric, the expectation is going to be that the girls are only going on the dates with the men that they're interested in and that they know the men are interested in them. However, I think that men are terrible and they tend to make poor decisions. And when there are multiple options involved, they tend to, their penis doesn't work correctly, and then they're like, well, I might actually like Rachel, when the whole time they've been going after Gabby.
Malfunction.
I have a theory.
Malfunction.
I have a theory. We
What
saw
is
a
it?
teaser. It was like a 2-on-2 date, and halfway
Yes.
through it, they're like, let's switch dates. Maybe what they'll do is start grouping it. So if it's a guy that only one of them likes, the other one doesn't, something like that, it can be a 1-on-1 date. If there's like a couple guys that they
Good
feel,
idea.
something for, then it would be like a 2-on-1 or
One
a
of-
2-on-2.
One of those was Eric, correct? For like, he was
probably
originally.
Eric.
2-on-2 with Tino. Tino was one of those guys.
So was
too.
Tino and Eric though? That would be weird. Two weird people
I
for
would
them
think
to
it would
do
be
it.
like Eric and
Eric
Logan.
and Logan, yeah.
I know it was
Yeah.
Tino though in that group date where they
That's
said
so
let's switch.
weird.
But like, what the fuck?
It's gonna
That's
get
like
weird,
Why
guys.
would,
fuck.
why
Gonna
would
get
Rachel
weird.
let that happen? Oh, I have so many questions.
Okay.
All right, well, let's leave it with
can only
that.
find out next week.
Thank you.
I have to play us out. Us
Okay.
out. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh
Daddy
God.
gone.
I turn my head
My
to
head
the
to
east.
the east,
See
I see
nobody
nobody
by my side.
by my side.
I
I
turn
turn
my
my
head
head
to
to
the
the
west.
west, still nobody inside.
Oh my God.
Turn
All
my
right,
head to the
copyright.
west. That on me, that
Oh, that's right. We're not allowed to do that.
I love that. Well, it was
No one's
amazing.
listening.
No one's listening. It was amazing going over the second episode of The Bachelorettes. Honestly, I thought it was a really good fucking episode. I think Adam and Hannah both agree. We will be back again next week with another episode. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review, baby, because
Oh, wow.
IdiotBox is here.
To stay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Sister.
And goodbye.